you see the red light?
Yep.
Woo! Okay. I'm going to try not to feel any pressure. Okay, so welcome everyone. We took 10 minutes longer to do all that. But we had a much bigger group than expected. I don't know if you heard me talk about this, but I really thought there was going to be 5 or 6 people. It was going to be a no pressure thing for me. Just run through it, you know, get it all worked out, it'll be all great. So that's not the case, and it's wonderful. And truly, thank you for having faith in me. I didn't give you guys hardly any information. We're going to do this thing. I know it's kind of like this. And everyone said, okay, let's do it. So I appreciate that, and I'm endeavoring to do my best with some new material. So first thing, just some nuts and bolts about the program so you kind of know what's up. I did send out some last minute emails with a hopefully semi-firm timeline, and so just so you know that there's a couple of things there. Maybe we can add a couple of sessions here and there, whatever, I don't know. At the recipe dinner, we will probably almost certainly talk about some more stuff, questions you might have, anything like that. There will be some things I want to talk about. So every chance we get, we'll kind of probably talk a little bit more about some stuff. And it seems wisest to have a second session, a women's only session. I think it'll be just a lot smarter to do it that way. We'll talk more about all that hormonal stuff. So as you see on the schedule, we're planning to do that next Sunday. And then the guys won't have to sit through that. And someone's saying it could be a good thing to force them to. But anyway, we'll just do it that way. Questions? Yeah, any questions? I'm going to do my best to answer them for you. So today we got, you know, our measurements of body compliment kind of thing. I want you to, in this program, to come in here every week and do your own body comp. So, you know, I'm here all the time, someone else, whatever, we can show you, and you want to pick a time that's going to be exactly the same every week. So maybe, for example, the 5 a.m.ers come in on Friday morning and they do it before the 5 a.m. class, or whatever. Someone comes in, you know, Monday night at 4:30 all the time, and you're always going to do it that certain time. So you want it to be a consistent time. That's pretty important. That thing is only a machine. It just kind of does the best it can do, and being consistent will help. So you're going to come in and do that each week, and on WOD Together, there's an area in there, and hopefully you got a chance to kind of have a peek. There's an area to record our meals, and there's an area to record measurements. And you're not necessarily going to record your measurements. You can if you like. You're going to transpose them to them from your picture. But down at the bottom it says % body fat. There's a place for notes. You can just keep some notes and do that. So the reason we're going to do that is because I want you to monitor any progress weekly, and also to compare that to how you're feeling. So we're going to talk about this, in a little while here, about our HEC, and we'll explain that. But you're going to want to monitor that, and every week you should be kind of looking at your stuff, looking at all your meal plan stuff, and seeing how you felt. Which brings us to the journaling of your meals. So in WOD Together, it's really pretty nice that they just put that thing together, and we're going to utilize it the best we can. If you got a chance to look at it, it's really simple. There's a date, and you choose breakfast, I don't know, lunch, dinner, and snack, and you can make a quick note about what that is. If you type faster than me, this whole process should take you about 34 seconds. Like, it's not a big deal. Don't freak out. You're going to be able to fit it into your day, I promise you. So you put it in there, and then you're going to come down there, and there's going to be how healthy it was, if it was satisfying or not. And then if you click zone, we're not using the zone diet, but what it does is it tracks our macros, our protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and that'll just give you a quick idea if you're getting them in or not. So as we'll talk about, every single meal or snack should have a protein, and it should have a fibrous carb of some sort. So at a glance, if you had 5 meals that day, 3 meals and 2 snacks, then you should see 5 proteins and 5 carbs. And just poof, I got it that day. there's not, then of course you're going to look back and see where you went wrong and of course fix it the very next day. And so we want that to be in there and tracked and easily seen. It's actually pretty cool. It keeps track of it pretty good. It summarizes it and all that kind of thing. So I am not saying that you must record every single meal for the next 2 months. But I would very, very much like it if you record every single meal for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Or you could do something like 2 weeks and then in the second half, do it again. Because there's going to be a difference between the first half and the second half. So the more you track your meals, the better job you're going to do this. In all walks of life, if you journal, it is just better results, more professional. A lot of people say, well, I ate pretty good today, and then they write it all down, they go, oh my God, I missed this, or forgot that, or whatever. Journaling is the only way to be absolutely accurate that you're on track. Okay, so please take the time to journal. It's really quick and easy. Okay, then we got all that stuff. Photos. So once upon a time, we took a whole lot of time to take everyone's photos, and so we could have before and after photos. That is going to be no part of the program except for yourself. I highly, highly recommend that you go home, and in the privacy of your home, everyone's got a phone, take a front, back, and side before and after photo. So it's often the thing that makes the most difference. Yes, overall everyone's going to think this is a weight loss program. I don't think of it so much as a weight loss program at all. Yes, it's going to be a fat loss program for most everyone, but it's a whole lot more than that. We want to learn to live. But many people in our society are, pretty happy if they lose a little fat. So there is that part of it. So you want to do that, check it out. You'll notice the biggest difference. In the past, you'll say, oh, you lost 6% body fat, and they're like, yeah, whatever, show me the picture. Because that's where it really shows up. That's where it really makes a difference. People love to see the pictures. I can't tell you how many people I've seen laughing and crying and stuff looking at the pictures. So we're going to track all that. We've done all that. How the program works. We are going to, so as part of it, and I think it's good motivation, and we've always done it, and I feel better about giving something back, there is going to be prize money. So because we have men and women in this program, it's not fair to the women because men lose fat quicker because they have more muscle mass. So we have to have 2 categories. So we have 2 prizes for men, 2 prizes for women, and they are going to be, and part of the reason we need to track all this, we are going to do, you saw your schedule, that we're going to do the measurements 3 times tonight, in the middle, and at the end, and that's going to be part of it. So our total inches lost will be a good determination of the success of the program for some people, and then a combination of our percent fat lost and a percent muscle gained. That combination is also a good indication. So, and they can be different, and so sometimes 2 different people will win those, and sometimes the same person, whatever. So those are the most fair and accurate ways to track it, because we're looking for truly healthy fat loss versus just gigantic weight loss. So there's a really big difference. So those prizes, and then also you saw at the end, it's going to be awesome because the awards dinner for you guys coincides with the Christmas party, which will be a great time. So you actually have like a lot of people cheering you on, so that'll be good. So get into the program. Any questions so far about any of that stuff? Okay, so in your manual, some of the stuff I'm going to kind of skip through pretty quickly because you can all read it. And of course, I don't want you to stay up till midnight reading because sleep is so important. We have to fix that. And we have coffee. So we want to make sure that we get through this in a pretty reasonable time, which is one of the reasons why we're going to have a separate session for women. It takes a little time. I'm going to leave some of this stuff for you to read. The part here about the 5 distinctions of fat loss thinking. Okay, so most everyone just thinks about losing weight. How many people jumped on that scale tonight and the first number that they're thinking about, worried about, whatever, is the weight. We don't care about weight. We just plain don't care about weight. So think of like an awesome athlete in your world. They are heavier than they look because muscle weighs more than fat, and that just is the way it is. And so we want that. We want a high percentage of muscle, we want a low percentage of fat, and away we go. We have an ideal body weight. We do not care about weight. There's no prize money for weight. Did I mention there's $200 for each prize? So there's $200 for each prize. So there's no money for loss of weight. We don't care about that. We don't want to emphasize it. It is a wrong way to think about it. So when we think about fat loss, we're thinking about a healthy body. We're thinking about ideal body weight. And because we're all athletes, we want to think it from that perspective. So, of course, you'll go through and read all that. And then these are just 11 general rules about kind of like fat loss and the program in general. We're going to talk more in detail about HEP, hunger, energy, and cravings, and why that's important to us is how we are going to gauge if we are hormonally balanced. So it's an entirely different way to think about how we are, how we operate, how we feel day to day, how we sleep, how we function, all that kind of thing. Number 2 is a quick thing about equal time eating and sleeping. So if you only have 4 hours sleep and you have a big bedtime snack, then you didn't get very much time off. Your body resets hormonally while we sleep. We recover while we sleep. We need that. And so, as a general rule, although there are some strategies to help people think or to help people sleep, we do not want to just like be eating all night long, watching TV as some people have been doing. The carbohydrate tipping point, again, you'll read all this, we're just going to rush through it quickly, is the point at which you have enough energy, and tipping over would be having all kinds of blood sugar problems and hormone imbalances. So as we go through this, and again a little bit later in more detail, we all want carbohydrates, we need it as athletes, we need it to recover, but we don't want to go over. Very, very quick example. I might use myself as an example a lot tonight because I can tell you how I screw up or whatever, and things that happen. But so we all know that after workout, that might be the time that we have more carbohydrates than other times because we need to replace muscle glycogen after our intense CrossFit workouts, and so it's prime time to have carbohydrates. And so that's actually when I have the most of my carbohydrates in my kind of super early lunch meal, and I have sweet potatoes for the carbs. And so if I go back there and feel really hungry and I have too much, it does affect me. It affects me hormonally, my blood sugar balance. It will screw me up if I have too much. If I'm tired and I want to put myself to sleep like a drug, I can have way too many carbohydrates. A little while later, I am like exhausted and I can literally put my feet up and fall asleep because I have then now a blood sugar low. I created an insulin spike, my pancreas dropped that blood sugar and reacted too low, and poof, I'm screwed up. And then for the rest of the day, I'm kind of slow and sluggish and screwed up. If I need to stay focused, then I need to have fewer carbohydrates. I need to have the appropriate amount of carbohydrates whereby I am fueling and recovering from the workout, but not too many where I'm creating a blood sugar spike. And so that is a very real thing. It's everyone has those to some degree, and it's a similar situation for everyone. So that's kind of like the carbohydrate tipping point. Some people think that they should never eat fat because we've been told that fat's evil and stuff like that. That's just ridiculous and stupid. We're not even going to go there. And then combination of fat and sugar together. Certain things have been studied and proven to be bad combinations for us as humans. And so when we put fat and carbohydrates together, it's not great for a number of reasons. If you have a deep fried donut, so just nothing but simple carbs and fat, then we know that it does a bunch of things to us. It screws us up hormonally, it screws up the balance, it makes us want more, lots and lots of studies. So then, the Whole 30. So how many people have done the Whole 30? So a pretty good chunk. So having done that, you've kind of experienced that. And the Whole 30, we're going to talk about briefly as we get here a little bit further. But it's all about eating exactly what humans are intended to eat. No foods that are inflammatory or bothering us digestively, just foods that humans are intended to eat. And by the way, when people do that, and right away, the thing that I hear most is that they feel better than they ever felt. They can't believe it. All kinds of wild things are just gone away. It is shocking, it's amazing, the things that happen when a person just eats real food for a while. Okay, but the Whole 30 is a 30-day plan to basically heal your body and let your hormones recover and kind of get straightened out and hopefully gain some good habits. At that point, a person can then add in foods that they would normally eat. They add a little bit in a day, and then they see how they feel, and then their body will tell them right away whether that's a food they should be eating or not. So many people after the Whole 30, they have dairy, for example. Boom, all kinds of digestive problems. When they were kind of okay before, but they were kind of just suffering through it. They have grains or something, and bang, they're bloated, or they're all spacey, or who knows what, and all kinds of things happen, sleep stuff, allergenic things, lots and lots of things like that. So we know that the Whole 30 program works really, really well. It's amazing in 30 days how well that works. But it's difficult to stay on that program for longer than 30 days, because you have that 30 days, got to do it, I'm hanging on. Many people start with cravings and things like that before the end of the 30 days. So if you go, we're going to talk about this in more detail later. So I'm going to skip over a little bit, and the Whole 30 is all about being perfect for 30 days, and we know that that's kind of unsustainable. So we need to learn how to live in this world and then keep our hormones balanced, and with knowledge, make the right choices. I'm just going to kind of move on here. The label rule is really valuable for those of us who ever go to a grocery store. So it's up there, little ways we're going to go over in more detail. And it basically tells you whether you get to buy and take home and consume a food or not. And it's helpful. So some people just diet, and that's all they do, chemical program, whatever. We're going to have far more knowledge about that. We're going to manage what we do, what we eat, when, who, what, when, or why. We're going to know how it affects us, and it's going to give us the ability to live in this world. There are buffer and trigger foods. So some people, for example, in the afternoon, someone always gets really hungry for sweet snacks. So they have one square of dark chocolate. One person goes, oh, that was really great, and it felt really good, and then they're good until dinner time. Another person has that square of chocolate, and they have to eat the whole chocolate bar now, and then everything else that's on the shelf. So we want to stop it. So that would be a trigger food for that person, and where it might be a buffer for the other person. So sometimes having a small amount of exactly that, maybe not optimum choice, might be still great, because they just have a little bit of it, they feel kind of satisfied, and it satisfies that craving, and away they go. So there are both those, and they're different for everybody, and we're going to try to identify those. Exercise impacts our hormones. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail. Sleep. There's a little bit of a graph on understanding what you eat and how it affects you. You guys can look at that. That should be no surprise. In this program, in Whole 30, so if I back up a little bit, I'm hoping that everyone can be very Whole 30-ish for close to 30 days. Now, we're going to talk, I keep jumping ahead, but so metabolic compensation is going to happen before 30 days. Anyone that did the Whole 30 probably found that there were challenging times, and they really, really wanted to eat something, or they felt really hungry, or whatever. And so we want to kind of mitigate that by having more knowledge about what to do instead of just sticking to the program and toughing it out. Person sticks and toughs it out, and then next thing you know, their cravings are so crazy or whatever, or they're so super hungry, then they blow it out of the water. So we want to be making the correct choices throughout. When we transition into just monitoring how we eat and what we eat, and managing our hunger, energy, and cravings, then we want to keep an eye on these foods. When we start with the Whole30, you'll already have good habits because you're going to be eating protein at every meal, so a healthy protein source, and you're going to be having fibrous carbs. So the first thing we do for almost everything is add protein, fiber, and water. So I could go into this big long thing, and if you guys were here, when I did my little Friday thing, we talked about that 2 million year timeline and how humans, ate hunter-gatherer diets for so long. And so that is protein and fibrous carbs. That's it. And so that's what we're kind of designed to eat. All the stuff we have nowadays is a little bit challenging for us. So that will be no surprise to you there, obviously. I have some things in here for the Whole30. Those of you who have not done the Whole30, you will have to do a tiny bit of reading here. It's very, very self-explanatory. It gives you foods that you can eat, and that's it. If the food is not on the list, it's not on the list because you can't eat it. Just that simple. So it's really easy, and or they say it's really simple, maybe not that easy, but that's where we want to start. So if we start with those foods, it is going to get us on the right track. It's going to, if you've never done the Whole30, it's going to give your body a chance to heal up, your hormones a chance to heal and get balanced and just get kind of normal. And so it's really the place to start. It's everything I believe humans should eat. Ask anyone here who's done the Whole30, they will tell you they felt awesome. Okay, so it just really is a place to start. We are at the food label thing here, so have you guys done to page 21? So on page 21 we have that food label reading. So the way this works is it's really simple. You take the total carbohydrates and you subtract the fiber and the protein. And then typically we want that to be 10, but on the left-hand side you see the hormonal carbohydrates. So we're going to go through this little process where we determine what kind of metabolic burner we are. And as you can see, it makes a little bit of difference on what we can eat and what we can't eat to feel well. So we're going to, well, you're not going to do it tonight, I think, because you're probably going to go home and read it, but you're going to determine if you're a sugar burner, a mixed burner, or a muscle burner. Those are just broad categories. Everyone is in a very, very large spectrum, but it helps us to identify certain metabolic types and what's going to be best for us. We always can take a 8 or 10 week program. Everyone can lose weight. Everyone can do that. But everyone gains the weight back. Everyone gets hungry, gets cravings. Their energy's all over the place. They can't sleep or whatever. And that's not the way to do it. We want to do far better than that. So you go to the grocery store, and there's an item there, and you're kind of wondering if you can eat it or not. And so you have your food label memorized, and you take the total carbohydrates, subtract the protein and the fiber, and if that number is not your, fiber less, like for a sugar burner, 10 or less, mixed burner, that kind of thing, then you don't get to buy it and you don't get to eat it. Now, if you did eat it, and you are a sugar burner, then that could be your tiny little cheat meal. Some people get cheat meals, some people don't. And then we'll talk about whether you have a cheat meal when you don't get to, and then we can kind of mitigate all that stuff. But this is a great way to know whether you should even be eating it or not. Sometimes, someone like, oh, I got this protein bar. It's made by Special K. Well, I bet you if you read that label, it's not something that you should eat. So it's really, really helpful to keep us on track. Okay, metabolic compensation. So, person, I just mentioned, you know, we can all lose weight. So, a person takes some 5-week, 10-week, whatever program, and they're going to reduce their calories and exercise like crazy. Everyone will lose weight. Seen it for years, it'll happen, everyone will lose weight. What typically happens then is your metabolism compensates for that. So what we need to do is understand what our metabolism is for. Your metabolism is to help you survive, to stay living. So if there was a time when you had very little food, but you're still walking 12 miles a day, then your metabolism is going to do things like slow down. It's going to affect your brain chemicals and hormones and your thyroid, and it's going to slow your body down. If it was in an extreme situation, you know, virtually any calories it gets, it's going to store it as fat so you can survive. It's going to make you feel really, really sluggish so you don't expend extra energy. It does a bunch of things to basically slow you down and store fat and survive. And so your metabolism, the thing to remember is that your metabolism does not care about your six-pack. It just doesn't care. It doesn't care if you want one or not. Its sole purpose is to keep you alive. And so what we want to do is understand the metabolism and kind of work within the boundaries of it. And so the biggest thing that we don't want to do is create a big compensation. So again, you know, the weight loss program, the typical weight loss program, we're going to have a calorie deficit, we're going to eat less, and we're going to exercise more. And everyone will lose weight for a while, and then the metabolism goes, what? We're still doing this? It's like, obviously I have to make a change here, because this human is just banging away and there's not enough calories, and so I have to make it survive. And so it does all those things, and you can see in extreme cases where, you know, people do all kinds of yo-yo dieting, have for years, they're literally obese, they exercise all the time, they eat nothing, and it's shocking to believe that that person's out of the weight when they virtually eat hardly anything. And so there are people like that, and the body does everything it can to kind of survive there. And you know, that's an extreme example of the hormones being totally out of balance. And it does happen where, because that person's exercising and the body needs protein, the body will take protein from the muscles, which is one of the things that we don't want to do as athletes, and that's why we're always getting lots of protein in. And it'll take that from whatever protein source we have, like our muscles, our organs, our brain, whatever. And some, you know, extreme yo-yo dieters die of cardiac arrest and they find that their heart muscle is actually like minimal. So they just so long did all that wrong stuff, and their body just can't survive anymore. So that's very real. And so what we want to do is not create all that compensation. So there's kind of like 4 categories. And so a person, you know, doing the dieting thing, they eat less, they exercise more, and it creates metabolic compensation. It's going to bounce back. So you've heard this all the time. Person does program, and they're doing great, and it was really going like crazy. And then near the end, they start to slow down, but they're still kind of losing weight. And then they finish the program, and after the program, they're not as motivated. There's this feeling like, the program's over now. I can kind of go back to normal a little bit. I'm just going to cheat a little bit. And their body is doing a bunch of things now. So it's hormonally sending signals to tell the body to slow down. You'll be not as motivated. You think, well, why am I not so motivated? It's just something wrong with me? No, your body is doing that to you. Your brain chemicals are doing that to you to get you to slow down. To think, oh man, I'm just like a slug. I just can't pull it together. I'm not very motivated anymore. That's your metabolism doing it to you. It's not your fault. Your metabolism did it. So it's doing all those things to slow us down, to compensate. So a person has more cravings. Well, I was doing so great, but now I just can't. I gotta have this, and I started eating that, and I had so much of that. So your body again is doing all that stuff to create cravings, slow